Welcome to the Kiwimana Bee Buzz Build-Up, episode 128.
We are Gary and Margaret. We love honeybees and we are kiwimana. We are beekeepers who live in the Waitakere Ranges on the wild west coast of Auckland, New Zealand.
Yes, and this is episode 128, Gary, of our beekeeping show.
Who would have thought?
That's right. So, Kiwimana is a place where the beekeeping community can share a conversation and connect. And in this episode, we are talking about maybe that new treatment isn't the best for your bees.
And bees, bright colours, the buzzwords in gardening.
Oh, awesome. And Welsh bees invade Manchester streets. Crikey.
We've got a roving reporter about that.
Awesome. So, as if that wasn't enough, we build and sell beekeeping supplies. We teach beginner beekeepers and provide beekeeper services and advice. And we are the Bees Knees Club Facebook group.
That's right. It's great to have you joining us. We know life is busy and we appreciate you've taken the time to join us today. Thanks so much for being part of the Kiwimana Buzz.
Yeah, guys, we've also been known to go off in tangents about other things. And that's going on at the moment because we've been talking about in our latest newsletters chemicals, and last week was Conservation Week, and also about consumerism. So this will be something that I'm writing about, and that will be released in due course, eh? So I'll be having a few tangents on that one, so watch that space. And what time of the year is it here in New Zealand, Gary?
It's October and spring is springing.
Yes, it's swarms, splits, support clematis blooming, kowai, yes, magnolias, cherry tree, dandelions and buttercups. They're all appearing in the lawns and even some daisies. So what's been happening with the weather?
It's been pretty good, lately?
Yeah, the last few days have been good. Last week we had lots of rain and wind, and crikey, it's just been a real bonanza amount of different things going on. And we got an email from Paul who said that they are about 3 weeks away from splitting in Wellington, and that's in the middle of the two islands, which is the capital city in New Zealand. And he said he got some advice, was to keep the existing queen in the old hive. Wonder where he got that from. Hey, the other one is to split the queen away to prevent swarming. And he just asked me about that, and yeah, we are on board with doing a split. Taking your old queen away and setting her up so she can carry on doing her thing. And then the remaining hive will go and raise a new season queen. And so if anything untoward happens, you've still got your old queen resource there. And yeah, that's what we do. And we like to keep our genetics because killing queens actually, in my view, does harm the ability of the bee to keep adapting through the generations. So that's my view.
Yes, but saying that, if the queen is failing, there's no point keeping her around, is there?
Yeah, but we're not talking about a failing queen. We're just talking about a seasonal queen. I mean, queens should survive up to 7 years if they're nice and healthy. So why would you want to keep killing them? So yes, Gary's got the proviso there that the queen is healthy and everything like that, and yes, I agree with that. But generally, if you keep good records, you can always see how old your queen is, and if you really want to keep really strong records, you could put a number on her or mark her so that you know she's the same queen, but we preemptively split.
Absolutely, and if you want to keep good records, hive tracks. So it's kiwi.bz/hive tracks.
Yeah, that's great. It'll just help you keep records, and you can do that all online. And yeah, I think we're about the same stage as Wellington. That will be splitting in about 3 weeks.
What's been happening at Kiwimana?
Okay, Gary, what has been happening at Kiwimana?
Well, we removed the podcast application because it just wasn't as popular as we thought it was going to be. I think because when we released it, there was a lot less options out there for podcast players, and a lot of folks are using those popular players. So we've discontinued that.
YouTube is an alternative as well, isn't it? But there's no moving pictures. It's just listening to the
listening to our lovely voices and the image of we create an image for the YouTube. So if you know how to do YouTube, you can check us out. Yeah, have a look at this page. It's kiwi.bz/subscribe for different ways to subscribe to the podcast, and we hope you choose to subscribe. It's free, remember?
Free.
And Miracles of Miracles.
Oh yes, that's right.
The storm damaged bees are okay. If you're one of our avid YouTube viewers, you've seen the video of this. Man, bees are awesome, aren't they?
Yeah. So what happened?
Well, we checked them about a week after the storm. After we went there on the morning of the storm, and we put them all back together, and there was no queen or no eggs at all. So, and then we came back recently, and there was a queen, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So it's awesome. So we gave them some honey, and we're going to go back and have a look at them this weekend.
We cleaned out the box a bit, because there was a bit of damp in there and some slugs in there,
Yeah, a few slugs and snails.
But yeah, she's laying really well, and she's got good brood in there, and wow, they are awesomeness bananas.
And we reduced them down, didn't we, to one box?
Yeah, just so they can build up, and we'll go and check them and see if they need treating. But they haven't been treated for ages,
No, not since before winter.
Yeah, because we treated them, oxalic acid vaporised them just before the storm hit.
Yeah, so if you want to check out the video of that one, it's kiwi.bz/YouTube, and you can have a look at the videos. I think it's called, what's it called? Storm Damaged Bees Survive or something.
Okay.
It's one of the most recent ones anyway. And sorry, we didn't get the show out with Paul and Tracy. It's on its way. We're just time poor at the moment. We're trying to get everything edited.
We're not poor at all, thank you very much.
Time poor?
No, not even.
Okay.
Not even.
Well, I am. And we're busy working an interview with Nigel Costley. That's coming up as well. Yeah, and feeling heaps better because I was struck down with the flu.
Yeah,
that lasted a couple of weeks, eh?
The man flu, girls.
Oh, fatal. Almost fatal.
That's right.
What's been happening with you, Margaret?
Oh, heaps of stuff. We did a few videos last month, and you can check out my moves on the YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah, the beekeeping boogie.
That was awesome because it was the first day of spring and I was feeling really good, and the music was playing out from across the valley, and I thought, yeah, this is awesome. Van Morrison, Van the man. And yeah, enjoying looking into the hives and seeing how well everybody was. It was awesome. Yeah,
you had some good dance moves there. A few comments, wasn't they? It's good.
I'll never live it down, I must say.
It's a problem with the internet. It's here forever.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, and you're working with beginners. How's that going?
Yeah, helping them split their colonies. A few of the colonies that are a bit more ahead of we're in our neck of the woods, we're behind them, and going in to check how they're all doing the end of this week and just see what's happening. And mind you, we can't open the ones that are raising the new queens. We have to leave them for 5 weeks. So that's all being monitored. And, the beginners are using these split colonies to sell them, and so that gives them some extra money so they can buy some new gear. So that's always helpful. And, that's been a lot of fun. I enjoy doing that work, especially this time of the year as the weather gets better.
And great news, the Auckland Bee Club have purchased a Lifestyle Long Bench Hive.
Yeah, so I'll be giving a session on my recommended beehive management tips specifically for that product, so that'll be interesting. And back at our apiary, 2 of our stronger colonies are going to be split. The queens have really ramped up their laying and the drones are hatching in around 18 days. So I'll be focusing on their development and the amount of brood that's in there. And once that's all been established, I will be doing the splits.
That sounds like another video.
Okay, and the 2 smaller colonies, I was thinking of merging them, but one has really started to build up and the other one's working hard. So I'm really confused now.
So they're building up at different strengths?
Yeah. So I'm just going to keep an eye on them. I'm not too worried. We'll see how they go. As long as they stay healthy, which they look like they are, then I won't worry about it. So, just watching things as they go along.
Well, that's what we do as beekeepers, eh? We watch what's happening, we watch the progress, and we act accordingly.
That's true. And what else have I been up to?
I think are you doing a Varroa course soon?
Yeah, I decided to put together a course basically because I'd had a few phone calls from different people about their dealing with the murdering mongrels. We all know who they are, don't we, Gary?
We do.
The Varroa.
So is this course on how to breed Varroa, or what's it about?
Yeah, if they don't follow the course instructions, they will be able to breed Varroa. But on a serious note,
okay, sorry,
we're going serious. I will include going over some integrated pest management tools and methods. So, yeah, showing some equipment that will help the beginners deal with Varroa and the tools that will help them and the timing and all that goes with the methods that we talk about. And
sounds like a good day.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. And we also go over the split method with them just in case, just to show them what options are.
So wear your leotards that day, guys, if you're going to do the splits. Right.
Please don't.
Dad joke.
Please don't. That was too tight. I mean, not necessary.
And what's this? Glycerin and oxalic acid?
Yeah, we're not blowing up hives, guys.
No.
No, that's not what we want. But not sure about this idea of as a treatment, but we talk about that a bit more on the news. Oh, and latest word, just got word from the bee breeder who said he has gotten the queens and is preparing the nucleus colonies now.
Awesome. So if you've ordered a nuke from us, they're on their way.
Yeah, they're getting built as we speak.
Kiwimana, Global Roving Reporters, and this week we have messages from Canada, South Carolina, and Sheffield.
Fantastic. We didn't hear from Nicholas, but he asked us to do a little video for him on our treatment methods, and he's putting one together for treatments used around the globe. So we guess he's been busy working on that one, eh?
Yeah, we'll have to include that in the show notes. So it stars me and Margaret part of it. And it was funny when he had the translation to German, he actually had an actress playing Margaret.
Yeah, my voice was gorgeous.
Yes, and my voice was very deep.
And Ron, our roving reporter in Canada, did send us a report despite having a cold. So shout out to Ron for your efforts.
Yes, Ron.
Thanks
despite your cold, you still came through for us. Okay, here's Ron from Canada.
This is Ron Miksha in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Fall is well upon us. We've even had some snow on the ground already. Extracting finished in late August or early September for beekeepers here. It wasn't the best crop for most of the people I know in Western Canada. July was pretty good, but August was really disappointing. A friend with a few hundred hives blamed it on the dry conditions that we started to see later in the year. But also he said that forest fires off to the west were a big problem because the smoke was so thick that it covered a big chunk of Canada with this weird semi-darkness, and the bees weren't flying like they normally would. So the crop fizzled out in early August. Other years, we have seen it go as late as the first week of September or so. With fall weather moving in, some beekeepers are in the middle of mite treatments, and most have probably finished feeding bees for the winter. At least they need to by now. We're all marketing our honey and making plans for next year. It seems like we're always making plans for next year.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Ain't that the truth? Shocking news about the bushfire, eh? Or the forest fire, as they say in Canada.
I think it's interesting that these events, they're quite stressful for insects and bird life and all that sort of thing, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the trees, just imagine it, awful. Anyway, as long as they've got some honey, that's something. You're feeding the bees before they go into winter. That's interesting. It's not a method that we personally use.
No, we don't, but we have a longer flow than they do in Canada.
Yeah, so that makes the relevance about your local climate and your your local area and then your microclimate. You have to really understand that there may be advice out there, but if it doesn't suit your personal area, it can be really misleading to follow someone else's advice. So always ask what location they're in, what the temperatures normally are before taking on some of that advice, because it is very relevant, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Totally.
Totally moving on to the next
we made a
thing.
mistake there.
Did
Avery
we?
is from North Carolina. Now we're going to North Carolina where they've had a cyclone, so let's see what happened with Avery.
Hello, kiwimana. Avery here reporting from Rascals Apiary in northeastern North Carolina. Weather every year is really sporadic, so we can have terrible rain and still have the sunshine. The average weather around here as of late is 77 degrees Fahrenheit or 25 degrees Celsius. We also had a hurricane a few weeks ago, so we had to take off our top feeders so the wind couldn't knock it off, and we had to strap down our hive with ratchet straps to keep it in place. The hurricane also caused our bees to stay inside the hive, so once winter hits in a few months, some bees will likely not have enough honey stores to last them. To solve this, beekeepers should feed their bees 2-to-1 sugar syrup, and also adding entrance reducers when winter rolls around will help your bees with keeping the mice where they belong, outside the hive. NC beekeepers should also start thinking about whether or not they want to insulate their hives. And then, around mid-October, beekeepers should stop opening their hives completely and let the bees propolize it shut. Normally, if we beekeepers here at Rascals Apiary want to check on our bees during this cold season, we use a boring scope or a thermal imager camera so we can leave the hive itself alone. And finally, don't forget to sell some honey to those Christmas shoppers. And once you're done and winter has finally hit, sit back, relax, and treat yourself to some eggnog.
Sounds good.
Sounds perfect. So there's some really good advice there. Yeah, well, obviously we didn't hear about any losses, so that sounds good.
Have you ever had eggnog?
No.
Me neither.
So
we must go to America and try it one day.
We'll have to go to America to give it a go.
Yeah, and it was interesting about the thermal camera, eh? I've never seen one of those either. So we'll have to, Avery, you'll have to put some photos on your Instagram thing so people can see what it looks like.
Yeah, that'll be awesome because, we haven't seen that here, eh?
Absolutely. And getting ready for winter, make sure you put your mouse guards on, guys, otherwise you get mice in your hive.
Yeah, we don't want the mouse in the house, the bee house.
Now we're going to move over.
Over?
Moving over the Atlantic to Sheffield, otherwise known as Britmana, where the greatest beekeeper in Sheffield lives. Mr. Christopher Brown.
Absolutely.
Hi, Gary and Margaret. It's Chris from Britmana here, just recording my roving reporter piece. I'm a beekeeper living in Sheffield in the north of England. We've had a really long, hot summer, which is highly unusual for the UK, but it's been absolutely lovely. Pretty much 3 months of solid, warm sunshine. So that's been really enjoyable. The bees have had a bit of a tough time on the nectar side of things. So if you've sort of got access to sort of rivers that don't dry up in the heat, then sort of the riverbank flowers and stuff like that supply a continuous source of nectar. But other people haven't been quite so lucky. We've done okay. We've got the usual sort of amount of honey off. Bees are doing really well. We've got 3 good colonies going into winter, which I'm really positive about. And most recently, I just put a full super of honey under and over the brood box. So sort of going from bottom to top, it was the floor, then a honey super, then a queen excluder, then a brood box, then another queen excluder.
Oh, we got cut off there. That's weird, eh? Have you ever heard of that before? Having a honey box in the brood, then another honey?
No, I've never heard of that before, and I've also encouraged people not to leave queen excluders in the hive over winter, because if the colony decides for whatever reason to move the cluster up or down, you just don't know that the queen will be left behind, basically.
Yeah, they can leave the queen behind.
Yeah, and that would be a risk for me, so I wouldn't consider putting a queen excluder in over winter, but I've never used that or heard of that practice before, so...
You'll have to tell us more about that. I mean, maybe Chris explained it, but he got cut off by the...
I think he did.
No, don't know what happened there.
And I'd also like to hear, how they're going with the types of treatments, if any treatments are being used at all. So that'd be good if we got an update on that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and as Chris well knows, the New Zealand winters are a lot more severe than Sheffield. So, yeah, we're hoping it won't be as bad as our one has been, Chris. So just hang in there, eh?
So what was happening in our winter?
It's just our winters are much more severe than Sheffield, remember?
Do you think so?
No, but it's a joke we have. It's been running for several years and it has to keep going.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it is tough in here. It's tough in New Zealand, I tell you. Do you want to be a roving reporter? It would be awesome if you can help create the buzz by being part of the show.
Reporting in from your location whilst in the field.
We need more Kiwi reporters because these people, the Kiwis, need to tell us what's going on in their neck of the woods as well.
That's very, very true. Very true indeed.
We're very lucky to have overseas reports, which is fantastic.
So if you could do a 1 or 2 minute report of your local weather and what people in your area should be doing with their bees, just send it to Gary at kiwimana.co.nz and title it Roving Reporter.
Awesome. So thanks, Avery, Ron, Chris, for your roving report, and we look forward to hearing what's happening next month. So, what should you be doing with your bees if you're in New Zealand, Gary?
In New Zealand, assessing your colonies in terms of drone production and brood status, I guess anticipation of splitting, population growth and health, AFB checks for the annual disease returns, and finishing your treatments. Checking population levels, types of brood being laid, and progress of drones and splitting opportunities. And remember, when you're splitting, always wear leotards.
That's right.
And what's happening in the UK?
Don't want to rip your trousers.
No, or your bee suit.
Okay, in the UK, well, Chris touched on that, saying that their wintering down would be in their plans. Now the weather has changed, and conducting cell checks is something I would recommend, and getting the health, checking the brood health and assess for varroa presence, and treating so as to remove as much possible, if not eradicate, varroa presence in the hive before the bees' population declines. But this is the time where your winter bees are coming on, so winter bees live longer, but you don't want them to have varroa illnesses, so you want them to survive through winter. And bees can do that. They are amazing.
Absolutely. In the USA, gosh, you guys are having so much to deal with over there. We hope you will get your hive safely wintered down, but mostly we hope you and your families are all safe and wish you all the best going into winter, because they've had like hurricanes, as Avery said, a lot of wildfires,
tornadoes.
Oh, it's shocking. I hope you guys are
fires. All okay. They've also had drought.
What sort of accent is that?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, moving on.
Blog recap. This is where we recap the top content last month. First one. Springtime for Down Under Beekeepers. This is episode 127. Wow, had a lot of downloads, didn't it?
That did have heaps. That's how many downloads was that? Say it, Gary. Go on, say it. You can do it.
Almost 1,200 downloads. So thanks, guys.
That's just awesome. So thanks so much for that, guys.
And the next one was a blog post by an important part of the kiwimana crew, an important part of the kiwimana team. Indeed. It was called Sick Bees, Varroa Problems, Remedial Action for Deforming Virus Using Oxalic Acid Vaporization. This was written by Margaret, wasn't it?
Yes, I had that because I had so many people saying they were losing hives, so I had to put that together.
Yeah, and that's had a lot of people reading that.
748 of you checked in to see what that was all about, and I've had a lot of positive feedback to the fact that their hives are actually starting to recover. I'm just really thrilled about that, and I'm glad I could share that with you guys, and thank you. Thank you.
And the third article, tell the difference between Manuka and Kanuka.
Oh, this was written by a great guy. I know this guy.
That's me. I wrote that. Thanks, Dale.
Well done.
And that article, just going behind the scenes here for you guys, that took about a year to do because I had to wait for every flower every tree to flower.
That's right, and Kanukas don't flower all the time, do they?
They flower like in December for about 2 weeks. So it was tough. Long time coming, that one. But people liked it.
Yeah, good work. And there was a few other comments added in there. And, always happy to get feedback on these articles, guys. So,
yep. And the other thing we wrote, the other post we did last month, which wasn't in the top 3, it was use fire to remove bees and your house. That was the bonus show for our amazing supporters. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that was a real bonus, hot off the press, extra buzz.
Yeah, it was a funny story, but you'd have to check out the show to hear what we'd laugh about.
That's right. Wow, I like that one. That's cool.
Yeah, got to get my guitar out again.
So what have you been doing in terms of our work, Gary?
Well, I've been looking at the website because every time we tell everyone about a new post, the website goes down.
Yeah.
It's just too much traffic, which is a good problem to have, but it's annoying for people trying to access the articles.
Yeah, it is. It just means that we need to review our whole website, eh?
Yeah, I mean, it's not cheap hosting a website, so I think it should be better than it is, in my opinion.
And, it's because we want to keep the stuff available to you and it needs to work.
And what have you been up to?
Oh, well, the things I've been doing in terms of the work in the apiary has been the preparation for splitting. So I haven't been treating as heavily as I have done through winter with the oxalic acid vaporization. And once, I'll just be doing more monitoring, I think. And while the new season queens are being raised, I won't treat at all. And I want to see them mated and laying before any treatments are resumed. And this is the only time, just as a, by the way, that we use queen excluders because we only use them for the 24-hour settling period once we split the, resources and eggs and everything. And then we take it out the next day and they're removed. And those are the ones that we run for the Langstreth with the 2 brood boxes. We're increasing their laying space, which is good as the population gets bigger. So as we expect this time of the year, and continued laying right through to early autumn. So a side note is that the colonies have survived winter. The brood health is looking really schmacko, and I'm not treating as intensely. So as I said, monitoring is a key task that we're undertaking, and we will continue to do that through spring and summer. And we use the kiwimana mesh boards for that. That is using the sticky boards for monitoring natural mite form. So it's not as invasive as other methods.
No, absolutely. And it's a great idea you've got there about not treating when you're raising queens, because it's really critical that the smell of the hive is the queen smell, and not if you don't throw something in that smells like something else, so that can actually stop the queen being accepted into the hive.
Oh, that's a good point. And yeah, that's something to consider, guys, when you're using quite strong-smelling, strong-scented treatments.
Yeah, I mean, personally, until I've got a laying queen, I wouldn't even go in the hive.
Yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, that's hard, eh? I know that when I first started doing the whole splitting thing, I wanted to go and have a look.
Yeah, I know, and I've had some questions about that. People have been asking me, should I feed my hives while they're raising a queen? And I go, well, no, you should really make sure they've got enough honey or stores before you start taking the queen out and trying to raise another queen.
Yeah, I guess.
Don't do it in the middle.
Yeah, I think you're right, because what you're doing is at the end of at the end of winter, should I say, is that you actually are trying to get all your treatments done, you're trying to get them fed, you're trying to have them nice and strong, and then the whole splitting thing should be all about just dealing with population growth and development and making sure that they just continue on, and by then you shouldn't be interfering with them that much over that 6 to 8 week period of doing your splits. And I think the thing is that the less interference, the better if you are going to do and look at splitting.
It's a great time to let bees be bees, isn't it?
It is. And the other thing that I would probably say is we would be monitoring the entrances and checking whether we can turn the robbing screens around to the wider access. And at the moment, the populations are looking really strong and really good, so I'll be probably opening them next week to the widest entrance and gives them bigger access. And if they get really built up, which I suspect they will, I usually raise it up maybe an inch or a couple of centimetres. I'll be looking at the entrances just to make sure they're not getting robbed or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the time of year when the population growth expands dramatically, and that's when you get swarms, isn't it? So just check that you've not got queen cells. If you've got queen cells, you create nukes, don't you?
Yeah, if you've got queen cells, I think, in my view, I would have done the whole management before you get to queen cell stage, because generally once that instinct has kicked in, you're pretty much screwed in terms of swarming, eh? What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. Once they've decided they're swarming, they'll probably just keep swarming till it's empty. That's my experience. But if you open a hive up and it's got 8, or like in one case I had one year was 12 queen cells, you go, hey, 12 nukes.
Woohoo! And if your queen's still there, which she may well be, move her away. And then you'll be able to keep her as a resource. She'll just carry on doing her stuff.
Obviously leave queen cells to hatch in the hive.
Yeah.
And never, ever crush queen cells if the queen is not being found or you can't see any eggs there. I mean, to be honest, I would never crush a queen cell because it's kind of like throwing money away, isn't it?
Well, there's one school of thought where if there's queen cells in there, there's two things that could be going on. The queen could still well be there. So she could still be a resource if she's been healthy enough to raise all these to produce, or the colony has been able to produce all these queen cells. So I would always make sure that the queen is not in the hive. I mean, really do a really proper search for her, because she may still be there, especially if you see that the bee population has been quite strong and continues to be strong. It's when you notice the population suddenly drops, that's when you know she's swarmed. But generally, if there's still a good solid population in there, she may well still be there. So my view would be to take her and set her up as a new colony. Then you can work from there on to the resources that you've got available to use the multiple queen cells. But I'd check the hive thoroughly before destroying anything. I never agree with killing queen cells because there's a reason why they're there.
Beekeeping news. News you cannot use as a ruse.
I say beekeeping news that you can use to amuse for our beekeepers.
Yeah, okay. Let's move on. The podcast. Okay, this podcast is made possible by our amazing supporters. Especially this month, we'd like to thank Irene Townsend. Irene has been supporting the Kiwimana Buzz since March 2018. And we hope that the mug we sent you has reached you and it's making great cups of coffee.
Absolutely.
And thanks for your support, Irene. And just as a side note, we're going to be buying a new recorder. And we've bought some lapel mics and some mic stands. And that is all because of the supporters. So thanks, guys. We're going to make the show sound better and better.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. It's much appreciated.
The first story, the Welsh company behind the giant bees around Manchester. Bees have invaded the streets of Manchester. No, not honeybees, but large models of bees made by a Welsh company. The bees will be auctioned off in September and the proceeds will go to We Love MCR, which is a charity set up to support the victims of the Manchester bombings in 2017. And quoting from the article, the Manchester bombing may have been over a year ago, but the effect has on the city remains. One Cardiff company is helping the city in its area of expertise, model making. And, Margaret.
Yes?
We have a report from the Manchester streets. Let's play it for one of our roving reporters. Here we go. And we've never heard this, so we'll have to see.
Do you mean from our roving reporter?
Our roving reporter.
Hi, Gary. Hi, Margaret. This is Chris from Britmana in Sheffield in the north of England. Earlier on in July this year, I was alerted to the fact that the swarm of 101 bees had descended in Manchester, just over the Pennines, which are a set of hills in the north of the UK. And so I went to investigate, and it turns out that there are some sculptures that had been created to celebrate the honeybee, which is one of the symbols of Manchester. The history of it is that it sort of started around the time of the Industrial Revolution, when the hard-working folks of Manchester associated themselves with the honeybee, which they thought had a similar work ethic. As you may be aware, the terror attack at the Ariana Grande concert last year, as a result of that, the sort of honeybee regained some symbolism, and tattoo artists throughout the city started offering tattoos, and the payment was sort of donated to the victims of that terror attack. So it's sort of, there's been a resurgence in the recognition of that symbolism. I headed over there earlier on in the year. Had a look at a few of them, and they're lovely sculptures. And on I think it's the 17th of October, they're being auctioned off. So if anyone's in the UK and wants to buy a bee sculpture, one of the famous Manchester bee sculptures, then £30 sterling gets you your ticket entry, and you can go in and bid on one of them. One of them, for example, is signed by Liam Gallagher from Oasis. Yeah, so there's some pretty cool bees. The website to check them out, which I recommend you do, is Bees in the City MCR. That's MikeCharlieRomeo.co.uk. That's all from me. Hope you're all well and keep up with the great work on the show. Yeah, I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.
Fantastic. Thanks, Chris, for your report.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't get arrested or something for trying to capture those swarms.
Well, because I heard a report that someone was caught trying to break one and put them into the back of his car. And I thought maybe that's Chris trying to pick up a swarm. But, although, if you've seen them, they're pretty amazing, eh? I'd love one.
They are pretty awesome. I think they'd look stunning in the garden, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they had a similar thing in Auckland, but they were owls. I mean,
okay, more porks.
Bees are better. I don't know, they're like English owls.
Oh, I see.
I don't know what that was about.
No, me neither.
But that's a great cause. And
I don't know who that could have been about either.
No, that's right. We've got a photo there from Chris, and he's got a funny message on his bag, isn't he?
It's awesome, actually.
Yep. He was
Nothing funny about that.
Out there investigating the bees for us.
So that was our roving reporter.
Yes, thanks, Chris. And we're moving on to bees, bright colours, the buzzwords in gardening. What's this about?
Well, this is an article put out in September in stuff.co.nz, and I thought this would be a great share. As while we beekeepers are preparing and working on spring, this article talks about gardening and preparing for summer and mentions colour and bees. So, what's more important to our girls than flowers, trees, water and plants? Wow, this coming 28th of November to the 2nd of December 2018, the Auckland Flower Show, the New Zealand Flower and Garden Show will be celebrated, and they're looking at modern horticulture and design and will provide visitors of all ages an array of things to do and see. But going back to the article, it talks about flower gardens and the shows coming up which may be of interest to some of you who want to add something to your gardens and some plantings for honeybees. So the article says, as temperatures warm and the evenings get longer, Kiwi gardeners are writing their to-do lists. At the top of many is deciding what plants to buy for summer. For those of you who like to follow gardening trends, then think colour and bees. It goes on to say pollinator gardens are proving popular with garden designers, says Kate Hillier, the event director of the New Zealand Flower and Garden Show. So I thought I'd share that, guys, and we've got some links to the New Zealand Flower Garden Show and also to Hamilton Gardens. And maybe it's something you might want to plan for the Christmas holidays, you know?
Yeah, it sounds a good idea. And I like the way she said that designers are realising that bees are very important, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a great article and there's some nice photos in there. I think you'll love them, guys. Yeah, we've got the link to the show and the details. And
I wonder if we can get a beehive to be right near it for that period.
It'd be interesting, eh? I would be surprised if there wasn't any beehives there. Because they are promoting bees and, you know, as you said, they're talking about the importance of bees and how we rely on them. So I'm really glad to hear they are promoting that kind of planting and colour and specific for pollinators, she was saying. You may want to, on your holiday Christmas holidays also go and see the Hamilton Gardens.
Yes, we've been there, eh? It's been quite amazing.
Yeah, so he's obviously had contact with Kate Hillier. That may be of interest to beekeepers as well, so that's why I thought I'd share it. And I've got a question for you, Gary.
Yes, Margaret.
Who is the manager of operations in the Hamilton Gardens?
Well, people like to have names that are matching their profession. So I think he's called Frank Plantpot.
No.
Frank Busby.
No, his name is Gus Flower.
Really? Did he make that up?
No.
Is it really his name?
Absolutely.
That's a great name for a gardener, isn't it?
Absolutely. I was just absolutely chuffed to see that and love it. All right, so sound advice. Go with what we know. This is the next article. And this article was referenced when there were some discussions regarding new varroa treatments using glycerin and oxalic acid. And scientist Randy Oliver from scientificbeekeeping.com was working with Jennifer Berry on this combination, which is not approved here in New Zealand as an application method.
Or the US.
But that isn't stopping folks here from trying out this method. The question I have, or the question that was posed, was whether this treatment worked in different climates and temperatures.
Yes, because Randy Oliver is obviously in California. It's a hot, dry climate, and they were doing some tests on the east coast, weren't they, of America, which is a lot wetter, I believe.
Yeah, reading from the article, they say use methods for controlling varroa that are tested, legal and work. Last year, a new method of using oxalic acid was publicised by Randy Oliver, scientific beekeeper. According to his updates, he was having pretty good results with the new method. Beekeepers, along with myself, became hopeful that this new formulation would be the silver bullet we've all been waiting for. Not only did it look promising in controlling mites, but it was easy to mix, apparently had no adverse side effects to bees, brood or queens, had no wax or honey contamination issues, and finally, it was cheap.
But did it work?
Well, I think the key word there is cheap. So it's not always cheerful, is it? Anyway, do you want to read what they say next about the results?
Well, the results, even though the results are still preliminary, they did not recommend it because it doesn't actually reduce the mite populations in honeybee colonies. And why is that?
Because the data didn't show any significant decrease in mite levels in the 12-gram or 18-gram extended release method. The reason that she's saying it's preliminary, she goes on to say, is that we are going to repeat the study. Actually, we will start in early July, and plans are to alter the study protocol just slightly. Jennifer Berry says fear is, which has been substantiated through personal conversations and emails, there are numerous beekeepers out there using this unapproved, illegal method of applying oxalic acid. Some say it is working, some say it's not. Some say it isn't harmful to bees. Some say that it is. That is why we need to continue to examine experimentally with numerous colonies in different regions to see whether or not this method works. Otherwise, potentially lots of bees will succumb to mites. Lots of beekeepers will be out of money and lots of folks will be unhappy. She goes on to say that even though this new manner of applying oxalic acid may seem to be easier and cheaper, if it doesn't work, then what's the point? We don't know that the 3 approved methods of applying oxalic acid significantly kills mites. We do know that the 3 approved methods of applying oxalic acid significantly kills mites and does not harm bees or humans if applied according to directions. Even though I've written about this before, I would like to revisit it again. The 3 methods approved for use in honeybee colonies are trickle or dribble, vaporization or sublimation, and spraying. All 3 can be used on existing colonies, packages or swarms. The 2 most popular methods are the trickle and vaporization method. And there's a lot more in this article, and my thoughts move to the fact that she makes a really strong point. If the other ones are working, then why do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because she does say that she prefers oxalic acid vaporization because she says it works really well for them. But this is the university, isn't it?
Yes. And, you know, they talk about other ways to deal with varroa, such as brood breaks, and explain some methods for this. But let's be honest, if this cheap treatment method proves safe, does not harm honeybees, the wax, the eggs, larvae, and kills varroa, and does not cause long-term issues, the key things that still have to be established and what they're working on is the criteria for application, and that is the temperature side of things, isn't it?
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. Because it doesn't, because of the way it works, it needs a certain temperature, doesn't it?
That's what it appears to me that they're dealing with at the moment. But in all honesty, I agree that if the success rate is only 12% death of varroa, whereas oxalic acid vaporization is around 98%, why bother?
I agree totally. I mean, it's pointless, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some people think that doing something, even anything, is better than doing nothing, and sometimes that's not true. You know, you might think you're doing something good, but it's not actually working. But I don't know. I mean, what are people in New Zealand using this, and how are they finding it?
Well, there are people using them.
Yeah,
using, as what I mean is those two chemicals, and the argument was put to me that those chemicals are allowed to be used. But I think that the key issue here is that they are allowed to be used as individual chemicals.
Is glycerin allowed to be used in beehives in New Zealand?
Not to my knowledge.
So what do you mean by it's allowed to be used?
Well, what the compounds are approved for use in food or whatever as an individual thing. The chemicals are used in different areas and are approved in different areas, but not approved, as I understand, as a combination and approved to be used in varroa treatment.
Okay. Just before we finish your article, the thing about the brood break is really good, eh? And it's a really good idea about using the oxalic acid vaporization when there's no brood in the hive.
Yeah, I think read the article a bit more about that, guys, because it's a big article, and see if that would work for you. With that kind of thing, you need to have all your gear in place. You have to have drawn comb. You need to make sure everything is timed really well. So have a read of the article, guys, and it will just shed a bit of light on some other ideas, and they're maybe less harmful.
Yeah, no, it's a good article. And do we get any feedback about this?
Heaps.
So what does Glenn Cleaver, what does he say?
He said you might want to discuss the new methods we use in New Zealand and are more like the strips they have been using in South America. Scott towels are very hit and miss. Also, oxalic acid is not licensed to use in the USA, unlike the rest of the world. Randy was working with the FDA, but I don't know the outcome yet. Oxalic and glycerin has been used in South America for over 10 years without any resistance. At the moment, oxalic is approved in New Zealand, and I hope that it stays that way. It works. We had the privilege to test the South American strips, and they worked very well. The strips we use are compressed recycled cardboard and use a lot less oxalic than the South American strips, with very good results. The jib tape can even be made with organic cotton. We could be the first country to be antibiotic and synthetic treatment free.
Yes, hopefully, but is this the answer, Glenn? I don't know.
Well,
Time will tell, I guess.
They're saying in New Zealand that oxalic acid is approved, but it's the application of it that has to be tested. So it's approved in the dribble method, which was the first way that oxalic acid was actually approved as a treatment. And the dribble method involves sugar syrup. There are some schools of thought that think that if bees eat sugar syrup with oxalic acid, it's not good for them. So that kind of thing that you need to consider as well. We didn't have any luck with the dribble method.
No, and it does affect the bees because they have to ingest it. so it's different.
Yeah, so and then there's the vaporization, which is purely the actual oxalic crystal, which is heated, and it's the heat exchange that creates the smoke vapor, which makes particles which go around the hive. So it's not actually that oxalic is illegal or not illegal. It is legal, but the application method is what has to be tested and proven. Your thoughts?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, I think that's good. We'll wind it up there, Dale. We've got lots more to talk about. Mark Kirkwood also said, have you thought about trying to get in touch with Phil B on the New Zealand Bee Forum about this method of using oxalic acid, glycerin and jib tape? We haven't, but if you've got any...
If he's out there, get in touch. I don't know how to get in touch with him.
If anyone wants to share their experiments and results, please contact us at info@kiwimana.co.nz. We are watching this with interest, and we don't want to poo-poo everything, but we also don't want to put our bees at risk. So watch the space on this one, guys. If we get anything more on this, we will share what we find.
Okay, moving along. Speaking of cheap.
Okay, Gary, sounds like this one's a good one.
Make your own solar beeswax melter for under $10. This is a great post from Charlotte from Carolina Honeybees. An idea to make inexpensive solar wax melter and also an interesting honey filter that Charlotte uses.
So Did
you see the article with that funny honey filter she buys? That looks awesome. It's like a wizard's hat. I've never seen them here, but
Do you think that Charlotte's casting some spells?
Oh, no, I don't. I just
think
it's
beekeeper spells.
An interesting idea that we haven't seen. But the solar wax thing is using like a chili bin, and it's a really good idea. And by the way, Margaret,
yes, Gary,
we have to acknowledge that it was Charlotte's birthday last week, so we wish you a happy birthday.
Hey, 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 it's her favourite day. May we say happy birthday?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, that's awesome. I think the kids sounded so excited there, and yeah.
They were excited to be on the Kiwimana buzz.
That's it.
And if you want to wish someone a happy birthday and play it on the show, just give us a yell. info@kiwimana, we'll do that. But just give us a lot of notice. Hey.
That's right. 2 months would be good.
Absolutely.
I was just going to say that Charlotte puts together a lot of work, and I love that she's sharing this with us. And if you can save a bit of money, what does the article say?
Well, it says, when I became a beekeeper, this is Charlotte speaking, and I'm not doing the accent, I didn't want to waste anything produced by my bees. So my beeswax cappings represented many possibilities for producing other products and crafts. I was delighted to find out that it was possible to make your own solar wax melter. Yeah, this is a good idea. So check it out. You have to read the article and look at the photos because it's got some good ideas. In New Zealand, I don't know if you know, we're moving into summer. So this will be a perfect time to make your solar wax melter.
Yeah, and for under $10, man, that's got to be a good one.
And I've seen people talking about chili bins. You know those big polystyrene boxes you get for putting fish in? I've seen people use those too.
Yeah.
Have you seen our solar wax melter?
Yeah, yours is a black one.
Yeah,
it gets very hot.
And it's got an old cabinet's window on it.
That's right.
Okay, and we got some feedback from Tracy Robinson. Thanks for this. I'm hoping to make one. Smiley face.
And Beekeeper Charlotte says, thanks. We have sure had a lot of hot weather to use this year. I love it on there when she talks about what you need for it. And she said a sunny day. Don't we all need a sunny day?
And when we interviewed Charlotte a while back, she said that they get really intense summers there. That's awesome.
So it's a good one, guys. Have a look at that. It's going to be very helpful.
If the problem continued for the bees, I don't know if they would have made it.
When people join up with us, we ask them what their number one beekeeping problem is. Then we try and help them to sort it out. So we've got a few here. There's one about being a newbie and confused about what will happen to their bees now that the warm weather is here.
Yeah, and Michael says, how do we get started?
Yeah, that's a good one. And what does Kathy say?
I'm just starting out. Don't have any beehives yet, just heaps of bees in my garden and I'm keen to get set up.
Well, I think all of them probably could use 7 Steps to Becoming a Beekeeper article.
Oh, that's a great article. I know the guy that wrote that.
Yeah, me too.
And there's a 3-piece essential article that Margaret wrote, which is really good.
It's a 3-part essentials article, Gary. Just clarifying.
Yes, and we'll put a link to those and also join our newsletter because you get some amazing information there, don't you?
Yeah, very relevant to what's going on around the world from our roving reporters and what's happening here in New Zealand as well.
But the roving reporters aren't in the newsletter, are they?
Oh. Well, why didn't you put in their podcast? Listen to our podcast.
Because they're already listening to it. So they already know about that.
Oh, well, that's a good point.
And the other one is visit a local beekeepers club. That's a good idea too, eh?
Yeah, I think a beekeepers club is a beekeeping club. So I think that they probably have bees there. And even beekeepers that might know how to keep bees.
Absolutely.
That was a tangent. That was the worst tangent we've ever been on, Gary.
Yes, and it will be on the editing floor.
Oh.
Okay. What's your biggest beekeeping problem? You can tell us at kiwi.bz/problem.
So are you going to put the links to all those things there?
Yes, I will.
Oh, thanks. Thank you, Gary. And I think those, Michael, Kathy and Unknown can have a look at those and easy to click on those links and you get the information they're looking for just to give them a knees up.
Absolutely. And if you've got an urgent question, please check out the Bees Knees Facebook group where there's a big community there that'll answer questions quicker than we will. Going really good, eh? People are responding quite a lot now, so it's awesome.
Yeah, I love it when they put on, what they've been up to. I love seeing all those little videos and photos. It's awesome.
Yeah, there's almost, I think it's 1,500 people now.
That's fantastic.
From around the world.
Oh, I just love it. I love it. I love our beekeeping community and always happy to help.
Absolutely. Speaking of community, feedback from you guys. Well, on the Patreon, the supporters have been busy. We've got 3 new supporters. Yeah,
so you can support us through Patreon and tell us about this month's new supporters, Gary.
Okay, and we've got 3 new supporters. We've got Michelle Larche from Canterbury in New Zealand. I hope I said your name right, Michelle. And Dan McGivern from South Australia.
Oh, welcome, Dan.
And he's also into geocaching.
Oh, that's a good thing to do.
And Robin O'Connell from Victoria in Australia. Thanks, guys, for all your support. And thanks for joining the Kiwimana Buzz.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Lovely to get some support from over the ditch and our neighbours. And from down in the old South Island, always appreciated. So we've also had a donation from Bill, who sent us $40. And wow, that is just amazing, Bill, and we appreciate it very, very much.
Yes, thank you, Bill.
He made some lovely comments too about he's really appreciated the support we've been giving him through some of the things that he's been dealing with. So cheers, Bill. Thanks, Michelle, Dan and Robin, and welcome to helping make the Kiwimana buzz.
Absolutely. And now we're moving on to the Twitters. This is from Serious Dan, which I think is Dan McGivern, I think. And he says, the passion of these two is so infectious. If you have any interest in bees or honey, check this podcast out.
Awesome. Thank you. So, the bonus show, Gary. This is where our supporters through Patreon look forward to getting a little extra.
Yes, indeed. And this week we're talking about what to smoke. And are crossbows a really good tool to talk to your staff with?
Well, I'm not about this, what not to smoke or to smoke. Geez, you'll have to listen, guys, to find out what that's really all about.
Yes, that's available to our amazing supporters. And if you want to be a patron, you go kiwi.bz/banana.
And speaking of banana, we watched the Minions, the other day on Despicable.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Oh, it was fantastic. I just felt so invigorated and enlightened. And to all of the beekeepers' children out there, watch that show and you'll know why we are bananas about bananas.
So, Margaret, did you enjoy the show?
I always enjoy the show.
Did you find something useful in what we talked about?
Yes, I found the article about making a cheap wax melter very, very valuable.
Well, if you want to get the show to automatically appear on your podcast listening device, please subscribe. Visit here to get some ways to listen, and that is kiwi.bz/subscribe.
Awesome.
To discover ways you can subscribe to the amazing show.
That's right. And
the show notes for this podcast are going to be kiwi.bz/128.
Thanks, guys, for listening. We've enjoyed presenting this show to you. And, yeah, so much going on and lots to talk about. And, yeah, it's been awesome. And we look forward to bringing you another show in a while.
Absolutely. We'll be back next month or maybe sooner. Who knows? Okay, see you guys.
See ya. Time for a sleep.
Time for a sleep.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Sweet dreams.
Have a look at
the actual Oxala cricket.
And
oh! I was just
quoting from
chili
bins. You know those big plastic
that tells you about. Stop interrupting me.
And if you've listened this far, you must be a superior. You must be really.
You found something of value as we did, enjoying the. Thanks.
Banana!